Hi, Internet viewers. Frank Rauscher again. We primed the chickadee and we got it pretty white. And like I said, the main one that I wanted to see the ghosting through was the mantle right through here. The rest of it we're going to paint so that you're really not going to see anything, even in the head. The head is going to be painted black and the bib is going to be painted black. So that'll be heavy. So I just want to get you to at least this much white on the chickadee. And if you got it to that point, we're good to go. Now we're going to start painting it. So follow me. I'm going to start painting. Okay, we're finally getting around to painting now. So I use acrylic paints, and I've been using Liquitex, but that doesn't mean you have to use Liquitex. There's a lot of different paint manufacturers. I just prefer Liquitex. I've been using that for years, but don't feel obligated to use this one in particular, but this is what I like. A lot work, okay? So what we're going to paint first is I'm going to do the cap of the chickadee, which is all black, and I'm going to do the bib, which is all black as well. So let me show you how I do this. I'm going to get, this is ivory black, but you could use a lot of different blacks. One black that I like to use, and what I'm doing here is I'm using about maybe half a pea of that. And I'm only going to add a little water because I want to keep this mix not as watery. Usually I use a lot of water for washes, but in the case I may have put even too much water in here already. I can see that. I'm going to mix this paint really good so it all dissolves, but I'll tell you right now, I'm going to just move over here. I'm going to do it again because I think I added too much water. That's about maybe a half a cup of water, and I don't think that is just too much. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get about a pea size, not a pea size, about a little bit more than a BB size, and I'm going to put less than a third right there. Now this I'm going to mix up really good. And what I'm trying to do, it's not that I'm trying to do a one coat, because a lot of times when you make a heavy mix, you want to leave it thick so that it coats it in one coat. Not that I'm trying to do that. I just, and what I'm even going to do is leave some of the heavy stuff up on the edge here, so that if I have to go back and get something heavy, but I'm going to mix the rest of this up pretty good. So what I want to do now is try to get the excess off. And you also want to keep a container for cleaning your brushes. Also going to use my Optivisor, which is this guy here. And I like to, even painting, I like to see what areas I'm hitting and not hitting. What we're going to do, the black is going to come right to the split in the beak. It's going to come straight on back through the eye, and then it's coming down to about here. You could see the way we had burnt this, that the mantle feathers are bigger and they're not as burnt like this is. And you can see there's a difference between these here, and this is the mantle. We don't want to go onto the mantle, so it's going to be from the beak right on back to about here. Okay, so I'm going to charge my brush up, take the excess out, and then hope I'm in the vision here. I'm going to come right on in. Now that's a little more watery than I want, so I'm going to go a little bit more on the heavier side, at least right here. And I'm going to drag that back to about right there. I hope you can see that. Now, I'm going to come in here. I'm not too worried about going on the beak. Now I'm coming from the split in the beak straight on through. I'm even going to go around the eye just to make sure I've got the whole thing surrounded with black. Then I'm coming back through. Now I'm going to go back. And I don't want this runny to the point of this thing really having a real runny paint. Okay, and at the same time, I don't want it so thick that we lose control here and get too thick. The first coat may not go on as even, but that's okay. And then I'm going to come over to this side. Oh, one thing before I even started all this that I should have mentioned to you right from the get-go. I get a knife and there is a coating on the eye. So what I do is I get that white off of the eye, and then I get a brush, preferably a little wet, just no paint at all, and just wash it out, and all the white comes off and you're good to go then. Okay, so now I'm going to go back. I'm going to come right up to the beak, and I want to keep this in control so you're not flooding the brush. See, I take most of the paint off of the brush so that I have the controlled amount of paint coming out. I don't care. I'm not trying to coat this in one coat. So bear with me here. I hope I'm in the range so that you see what I'm doing here. I go through the whole eye area, and then I come back through like this. So I'm basically going right through the eye, and then I'm going to pull that right on up to here. Let me fill this in. And this will be like the first coat. And I want to try to spread the paint out and not have it have a real heavy consistency in any one area. It's almost like just try to just get it like so. You can see, like in some cases, sometimes the paint doesn't want to adhere, so I'll just touch it lightly. Okay, so I hope you can see that. I'm going to just come down a hair more on this. Just a little bit more. Right through there. Like so. Now, the bib area is this. It comes up to the beak, and it's all of this. And the cheek area doesn't, it gets a little bit of it, but very little, okay? And it's coming down to here and then around. And we had outlined that. So here we go. I'm gonna come right up. Hope you can see this well. I'm gonna come right on up to the split. At the same time, I'm trying to keep within the bib area that we had sort of outlined. And I'm going a little bit heavier on the paint here, but not enough that it's going to run. You don't want anything to run. Then you really have to try to control it. And what I do sometimes is I'll dab it, and I'll go a little bit into the heavier and then try to coat it. But the first coat always wants to resist you a little bit, okay? And the other trick is not to put your finger into anything you paint. Okay. So, and if you go overboard or something like that, don't worry about that. We can always paint again. Okay, so that is the first coat. I'm just gonna touch this up. I see spots that get a little streaky, but that'll be taken care of in a second here. I'm gonna rinse my brush out just to get the paint out so it doesn't ruin the brush. I take the excess off. Now, let me that I forgot to do. Excuse me 1 minute. I'm going to put this right here. I got to get my hair dryer. I will get that going. I want to do something else here. Just not. Okay. Got the hair dryer. And this is the one I'm using here. This is a Conair. I'm going to turn this on. And again, I don't want to blow it over the paint tray. I'm going to try to get it right in here on the bird. And the other thing I forgot to do, let me stop while we're ahead. And that is to paint the beak. How did I blow that one? The beak also gets painted. Now, let me steady myself. I'm resting my arms on the table so that I could come in and paint the beak properly without being so nervous in the service. There we go. Okay, now we'll rinse the brush out and we'll try this again. Okay, here we go. And it only takes maybe about a minute to get this thing dry pretty good to the point of you going to your, we're going to do several washes on here, and these are heavy washes in this one area here. So I'm making sure these are really dry. I don't want anything wet. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing all over again. But this time, I'm going to start with the, oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to explain, these Talon synthetic brushes. These are excellent, and I have some real good ones, and the sable brushes are really nice, but they're expensive. The Talon ones hold up very well, and they go to a point, and I've been using them. Now they will wear down, and you'll lose the point after a while, but they hold up really well. And in wood, they can beat up a real good brush, so you can spend a lot of money for brushes and not accomplish a whole lot. So if you want to go the cheap way, or at least to save some money, the Talon synthetic brushes are, I think I'm saying that right, Talon. I think it's T-A-L-O-N. Don't get me wrong. And I'm going to try to give us another coat where it gets blacker and blacker. And on the edges, I'm trying to get a little bit of a feathered edge in some places here on the back, so it doesn't look like you just stopped like a ring. In fact, what I may do is rinse this brush out. And I'm going to go with a finer brush. This is a number 3. I think the one I was using was like a 4 or a 5. This goes into a nice point. You can really get some really goes really well. I'm going to feather the edges back here just a little bit. And what I mean by that is, watch me, I'm going to just make these splits in here. And I'm trying to keep them thin. So that it looks a little raggedy at the ends. Now, let me come on the underneath side here. Do the come down here. And it takes some patience. You don't want to, as I used to say to my students, you don't want to seem like you're painting the porch. So you're not throwing paint on to the point of just getting it in there, especially when we do the washes. You want to take your time, because painting, as they say, or I'll say it anyway, you can have a carving that may not be that great, but if you paint it right, you can make it look great, and that's the charm of paint sometimes. It can hide your mistakes, and that's very helpful if you're trying to really get a nice look on the bird or something like that. Now, for some odd reason my paints ain't flowing as well as I'd like it to be, but we will live with it. And I'm going to try to break up some of the edges along the way here. And if it doesn't look proper, when I go to do the breast, I will make some splits where I'll come in with the white. So I'll drag a little bit of the black in spots just to break up the edges so it doesn't look like it's a total loop in there. Okay. Let me do something else, I think. Let me steady myself here. I'm going to come in right here. And the way this paint's going, and you're going to have to determine that when you do your mixing, how strong your coats are. This will be our second coat of the black. Now, the best black I found that I used to use was carbon black, and that was Joe Sanyo's. What I'm trying to do right now is just get this black in here so it's pretty substantial. And then this will come together pretty good before you know it. But I want to just have you take the time to do the painting in a nice steady fashion, so you're not rushing this. And what I want to do is just, if you spent all your time carving it, at least take the time to do a nice job painting. So now I'm going to give this a third coat in here. Get the underneath side of the beak. Come down, and this will intensify. And I use the water with the acrylic because what it does, it gives you that matted look, and you don't want any glaze on this. Okay, this is just strictly it'll go on wet looking like a glaze, but it's not. It will go to a flat black. And a lot of times I'll try this, skip the edges in the back here because the black sort of fades out. And that's one way of making it look interesting, where the black comes up and then it's going to hit the white breast. So I don't go all the way to the edge every time, especially on the third coat down here. Okay, so I got the bib in. See a spot or two. See, the problem is once you apply, you should just let it sit, because sometimes your brush will act like a sponge and actually lift the paint up if you if you go back, and it's like, you know, if you do this motion, when you go back and forth, you pick up, you're like sweeping it up. You're applying it on one and you're taking it off on the other. So what I try to do is apply. Well, I've got to do the front end of this first. So let me get the rest of this on the beak. I hope I didn't go out of camera again. I tend to more pay attention to more what I'm doing and less on the camera. So I apologize for that, but the idea is I'm coming through here. Now, I'm going to come down and paint right onto the glass, because we'll be able to clean that off fairly easy. And I'm coming through. And on each wash, depending on the mix you have and how much water you have, yours may come sooner, but I'm going to try to show you where you want to end up at as far as depth of black. Now, I don't always go down to the bottom of the eye. I do it on the first wash to get it dark, and then I just do the top works. Now, trying to get that. I'm telling you not to overwork it, and I'm doing a little bit of that myself here. Okay. I just put enough on, forgetting I got a smaller brush, so it doesn't hold the paint as much. Now I'll turn this around. I'm going to try to keep a little bit of the feathered edge. So I'm not going to go all the way out to the end. And notice I get my finger on here to balance me out so that I can keep control when I do that. So that's getting pretty close. I'm going to rinse the brush out, take most of the paint off of it. Okay, we go back in. Again. I'm looking at this chickadee, and I think I'm missing the boat a little bit here. A little bit. Let's see. I'm going to come back with the black and bring this up a little higher. I think what this should have done was come up to about here. And just where that rib that we put in there, here's the cheek coming around here, but we have like a secondary cut in there. I think you should run that right up into there, right there, like that. And I think we should do that on the other side. Let me just get a little heavier mix. And I hope I didn't drift out of the camera again. Right in there, and then I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to pull this in a little higher, just a little bit. here. Okay. And grab it again. Try to. Okay. That looks pretty good. Okay, rinse the brush out. Here we go again. Okay, what I'm going to do is just on that edge I brought up, I'm going to hit that one more time, and then we'll go on to the next setup of paints we need to do. And I'm just going to give that an extra coat right there. Okay, and then I'm going to come up through here, coat that. Hope you can all see this. And for now, I'm going to let that sit, okay? And we'll let that dry. And I'm going to rinse my brush out. Now we're going to go into the next stage. And what we're going to do, and I'm going to explain it to you on this go around, we're going to stay off of the bib, I'm sorry, the cheek in here, and we're going to come in and do all of the mantle, the primaries, the secondaries on the wings, all these in here, and then the top of the tail here, okay, with this next wash. So I'm going to put that down. And what we're going to use next is Paynes Gray. So let me get a little Paynes Gray out here. That's about a little more than a BB size, I guess, but about that. I'm going with a bigger brush this time. And what I'm going to do, let me just get that cradle back here, excuse me. Get the cradle, put that on there. And then I'm going to add, in this case, about a little bit more than half of the paint cup here. And see how that paint gathers up? I need this all mixed in here. I'm trying to get all of this as mixed well as I can get. And in getting these mixes right, sometimes it's challenging, but I'm going to try to show you how we do that. Just make sure all the paint is dissolved. If there's some there, I'm just going to take that out. Now, most of it is dissolved, but I want to make sure all of it's dissolved. Now, this is called a wash. I'm going to clean my brush on the back end here to get any of the excess heavy paint off. Rinse it out like so. Now, I'm going to come in. The only area I'm not going to touch is this area right in here. It's this, what I call the bib. It's like in here. And in here. Right in here. Okay, so I'm leaving that white. So watch me here. I'm going to charge my brush up. I'll dab it out a little bit because I don't want this runny at all. I'm going to come in. I'm going to lay this right in here. I'm going to go right around the cheek area and just do the mantle feathers up in here and then keep on moving down. Like so. Hope I was in the camera view. Here it is again. Here's your cheek area here. I'm going to come in here, run it right along the cheek area, come around the cheek area here, like so. Okay, up into here. You want to get all of the mantle. So there you go. Now you get the wings. Okay. Notice I'm painting in one direction so that I can get all the paint, the flow, without, if I go back again, if I do this, it'll pick up paint. Your brush can actually act as a sponge. Now, I know you're not seeing paint coming down there like it's as strong as can be, and that's true. It isn't. But that's the way I want you to build it up. It's a slow build up. Okay. Make sure you get on into all the nooks and crannies with this wash. So not afraid that if you scrub it a little bit to get in there so that you don't have any white popping through, because you don't want that. Now, if you get some on the breast area, don't worry about it too much. We'll get some white out and touch that up and all that good stuff. But try to keep it off as you can. I'm going to grab the cheek area here, and then I'm going to do the tail. I'm just doing the top of the tail. Make sure you get in under here. Get all the way back under there. Okay. Now what we're going to do, I'm going to get a little bit of water on my brush. Pick up a little bit of this Paynes gray, and that was Paynes gray. If I didn't identify the paint before, I apologize. This is a Paynes gray. I'm giving it one coat on the underneath side, and make sure you're doing the edges out here and on this side. Okay, and on the ends. Okay, now I'm going to rinse this. And let's see, I can hold the breast and I can hold the head without touching any of that. Now I'm grab it. Now, let me come back. Let's see what I got here. You know what? I may have come up too much on the cheek area here. I'll correct that. I think the cheek area came down to here, and it should have finished right here. Let me just go back to help you out. That was my mistake. I should have known better. I should have put some boundaries in there ahead of time for you. And I didn't capture that really well, so let me just get a little white, titanium white with a couple drops. I'm just going to mix this to get white again. See, here's where I made a mistake. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here without touching what I just painted and come down into here. It's going to look like it's white, but that's okay, because it is going to get white. Okay, I'm bringing that back a little bit. I don't know if you can see that. I just came down too far with the blue, or the Paynes gray, I should say. Shouldn't have came down that far. And I'm going to come back on this side and bring this back a little bit more too. It's going to look white right now, but don't worry about that. That's just stopped right there. Now, let me come in, clean my brush, and then I'm going to hit this again. Okay, now we're going to go back with the Paynes gray again. And I'm going to get this here again. I'm going to come up right behind the cap, circle around the bib, excuse me, the cheek, I should say. Bring that right on up to the edge. Okay, notice, I think I grabbed the wrong brush. Another one of my, that was the brush I usually did the undercoat. I'm using this one. And just apply that nice and even, going right down. Not runny, just enough to control it. Okay. Do it on this side. Right on down. Then we'll do the tail. Okay. Now, that's pretty close to where we want to go. Now, I'm going to jump to the smaller brush here, because I'm going to get the white out of there because I still had some white in there. And I'm noticing on this edge here, I want to get a little bit of this Paynes gray, and it is Paynes gray that I used as a wash on here. I want to come right on down along here. This would be where the underside of the wing, just trying to keep that in tight along that edge. Right on down around here. Okay. Noticing I could use a little more paint down in here. So we've done 2 coats, and if you see a spot or two, I'm just running this through here just to give it one more little touch up here, and I'll do a little bit over here like so, and I'm going to leave that. So we're at this stage of the game. You can see where I painted it, and I'm bringing this in up here so that the cheek is out. Okay, same way over here. Now, if some of the Paynes gray gets into the white, don't worry about it, because on the next go around, we will do the white in the cheek and really make it pop, because it is white. And we'll let some of this goes through, some of this feathering that we show here. And you can see in the mantle, it still goes through. So that's what I want to try to achieve. And for this session, you have ivory black, or if you have another black, that's fine too. If you have a carbon black, that's even perfect. But if you don't have that in your repertoire of paints, the Paynes gray that I used, which is this guy here, Paynes gray, you use that as a wash. You know, I put like a maybe a half a pea and about 3/4 of a cup of water. Really mix it. And if you have any excess that hasn't mixed after a while, then dump it into the side cup here, and then come back and you give it about 2 coats. 2 coats should get you right about where I want you to be for this, okay? It's not real dark, and it's like a battleship. No, it's not even battleship gray. It's a bluish gray, and you come up to the cap, and you come all the way up around to the bib here, and that should do it. So it's 2 coats in here evenly, okay? And like I said, you don't want to scrub it. You apply and go in. Maybe on the first coat, you try to get into all the nooks and crannies of the detailing, and then the second one you go straight down. But and the black, we did about 4 coats of the black, okay? And I kept that on the heavy side. So we'll probably go in and hit that one more time just to make sure we got everything right. And if it's not right, we'll be touching back and forth on this. Now, the one thing you want to do is, if you have some saran wrap, you can cover this tray and leave it so that when we come back to paint again, this will stay pretty good. And if you have something that's on the heavy side, you could put like a drop of water here, a drop of water there, a drop of water there for any evaporation, and even on the white. And that'll preserve it, you cover it over so that there's no air getting in, and you can reuse these paints tomorrow, okay, without throwing it away. So I hope you got something out of it. This is where you should be, okay, color-wise. And like I said, when we came through the eye, but I did all around the eye to get the black in, because there's like a little bead of white that was all the way around. I want you to come in and coat that a little bit so it's dark. And you only have to do that once on the first coat, and then it's about 4 coats of this to get it that way, but we may even intensify it a little bit more. But definitely 2 coats of that should do it, okay? So I'll hope you got something out of this one. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. If you could subscribe to my channel, I'd greatly appreciate that too. And if you know anybody that's interested in doing birds, put them onto my channel. I'd appreciate that as well. So I'll see you on the next video, and we're getting really close now. This bird comes together pretty fast, so it's not like we have a lot of work to do it. This bird's probably one of the more, I think, one of the easier ones to paint. But you be the judge on that as we go on, okay? So see you on the next video.